Dr. Elena Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. She had been working for 16 hours straight, but what she found was too important to ignore. The numbers and symbols on her screen told a story that made her hands shake. For 20 years, Elena had studied dead alien worlds. Her job was to learn about the creatures that used to live on planets far from Earth. These aliens had built great cities and powerful spaceships. They had ruled many worlds across the galaxy, but now they were all gone. Every single one of them had died out or disappeared. Elena worked at the Deep Space Research Center on Luna Station. The station floated in space near Earth's moon. From here she could study information that came from robot ships sent to explore dead worlds. These robots brought back pictures, sounds, and writings from planets where aliens used to live. What Elena found today was different from anything she had seen before. She had been looking at data from 17 different alien races. All of these races had lived in different parts of the galaxy. They had never met each other. Some had died thousands of years ago. Others had vanished just a few hundred years back. But they all had one thing in common. They all left behind warnings about Earth. Elena pulled up the first file on her computer. It came from a planet called Zephyr Prime. The aliens who lived there had called themselves the Zephyrians. They had controlled 300 star systems before they all disappeared 2,000 years ago. The robots had found a message carved deep inside their most important building. The message was written in the Zephyrian language, but Earth's computers had learned to read it. The words made Elena's skin feel cold. The blue world hides terrible things. What walks among the humans is not really human. Stay away from the third planet or face the same fate as us. Elena opened another file. This one came from the Keltharian hegemony. These aliens had been masters of space travel for over 5,000 years. They had built cities on 100 different worlds. But one day, they all left their homes and were never seen again. The Keltharians had sent out a final message before they vanished. It was broadcast on all frequencies so that anyone in space could hear it. The message was short but scary. We should never have gone to the blue planet. The humans seemed kind and peaceful, but something old and evil lives under their world. It woke up when we came too close. Run while you still can. Elena felt her heart beating faster. She opened file after file. Every dead alien race had left similar warnings about Earth. The Vorthan Collective, who could live for thousands of years, had written their final words in quantum storage crystals. The humans speak of peace and friendship, but their planet bleeds darkness from deep underground. What sleeps in their deepest places makes our worst nightmares look like happy dreams. The Drakmari Empire had been warriors who conquered worlds through force. Even they had been afraid of Earth. Their last message was found carved into asteroid bases throughout their territory. We came to their world as conquerors. We thought their weapons were weak and their ships were slow. But something else protects that planet. Something that makes entire fleets disappear without a trace. The humans don't even know it exists. Elena stood up from her desk and walked to the window. Through the thick glass, she could see Earth floating in the darkness of space. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful from here. White clouds swirled over the continents. The lights of cities twinkled like stars on the night side. But according to 17 different alien races, something horrible was hiding down there. Elena went back to her computer and opened more files. The pattern was always the same. Advanced. Alien civilizations would discover Earth during their exploration of the galaxy. They would study humans from a distance. Some would try to make contact. Others would plan to invade, but then something would happen. The aliens would detect something that scared them badly. They would leave warnings for other races and then disappear forever. Some alien races seemed to have evacuated their entire civilization in a single day. The strangest part was the timing. Many of these alien races had found Earth thousands of years ago. Humans back then were still using stone tools and living in caves. They had no spaceships or advanced technology. So how could primitive humans be a threat to aliens who could travel between the stars? Elena opened a file from the Nexari Coalition. These aliens had been explorers who loved to study other forms of life. They had visited thousands of worlds and made friends with dozens of different species. But their message about Earth was full of fear. We thought we understood evolution and biology. We have studied life on 10,000 worlds. But the humans are different. Their genetics contain patterns that should not exist. Something has been changing them for a very long time. We detected massive artificial structures deep under their planet. These structures are older than human civilization. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She opened another file from the Tikari Dominion. These aliens had been scientists who could scan planets from orbit and detect every living thing on the surface. The human population is not natural. They reproduce and spread in patterns that seem random, but we detected a hidden design. Something is controlling their development. The structures we found underground are not empty. They are active and watching everything the humans do. Elena's hands were shaking now. She had spent her whole career studying dead aliens, but she had never found anything like this. 17 different races, all pointing to Earth as something to be feared. All warning that humans were not what they seemed to be. She opened the final file. It came from the Ethereal Collective, a race of beings who could live as pure energy. They had existed for millions of years and had seen the rise and fall of thousands of civilizations. We have watched the galaxy grow and change for eons. We have seen species rise from primitive beginnings to rule the stars. But the blue world is different. The humans are not the masters of their planet. They are being prepared for something. The real rulers of that world have been waiting and planning for longer than most stars have existed. When they finally reveal themselves, every free species in the galaxy will face extinction. Elena saved all the files and made backup copies. She needed to show this to someone else, but she knew that most people would not believe her. The evidence was clear, but it was also impossible to accept. According to the data, something had been living on Earth for thousands of years. This something was so powerful that it could scare away alien races with advanced technology. It had been watching humans and possibly controlling their development. And for some reason, all the aliens thought it was getting ready to do something terrible. Elena looked out the window at Earth again. Somewhere down there, hidden beneath familiar cities and landscapes, something was waiting. The aliens who had found it were all gone now. They had either run away or been destroyed. But humans were still there, living their normal lives, not knowing that their planet might be home to something that could threaten the entire galaxy. Elena picked up her communication device and called Captain Jake Harrison. He commanded the exploration ship Horizon, which was currently docked at Luna Station. If anyone would believe her story and know what to do about it, it would be Jake. The comm device buzzed twice before Jake answered. His voice sounded tired but alert. Elena? It's pretty late. What's going on? Elena took a deep breath. Jake, I need you to come to my lab right away. I found something that changes everything we know about Earth and humanity, and I think we might all be in serious danger. Captain Jake Harrison arrived at Elena's lab within an hour. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that had seen many strange things during his years exploring space. When Elena showed him the alien warnings, his face became very serious. This is impossible, Jake said, looking at the computer screen. These aliens live thousands of years apart from each other. How could they all know about the same thing on Earth? Elena pointed to the data files. That's what scares me, Jake. Either they're all lying, or something on Earth is much older and more dangerous than we ever imagined. Jake studied the warnings for 2 hours. He read every translation and looked at every piece of evidence Elena had collected. Finally, he leaned back in his chair and rubbed his forehead. We need to investigate this properly, he said. I'll request permission to take the Horizon to one of these dead worlds. Maybe we can find more information about what scared these aliens so badly. 3 weeks later, Jake received approval for his mission. The Global Space Authority was curious about Elena's discovery, but not too worried. They thought the alien warnings were probably just old superstitions or misunderstandings. Jake chose to visit Kelth Prime, the home world of the Keltharian hegemony. The planet was only 12 light-years from Earth, and the Keltharians had left behind the most detailed records about their contact with humans. The crew of the Horizon included Elena as the lead scientist, Lieutenant Amy Collins as the communications expert, Dr. Frank Peterson as the biologist, and Commander Lisa Davis as the security chief. They were all experienced space explorers, but none of them were prepared for what they would find. The journey to Kelth Prime took 6 days using the Horizon's fastest engines. When they arrived, the planet looked beautiful from space. It had blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds just like Earth. But there were no radio signals coming from the surface. No lights could be seen on the night side of the planet. Jake piloted the ship down to the largest city on the main continent. As they flew over the urban areas, they could see that the buildings were still standing. Streets were clear, and parks were well maintained, but there were no people anywhere. "It's like they all just vanished," Amy said, looking at her instruments. "The buildings show no signs of damage or warfare. It's as if everyone simply left one day and never came back." They landed the ship in what appeared to be the city's main spaceport. The facility was huge and could have handled hundreds of ships at once, but it was completely empty. Their footsteps echoed in the vast terminal as they explored. Dr. Peterson found the first important clue in a building that seemed to be a scientific research center. The walls were covered with charts and diagrams showing the solar system that contained Earth. The Keltharians had been studying Earth's sun, planets, and moon systems for a very long time. "Look at this," Frank said, pointing to a large display. "They've been watching our solar system for over 3,000 years. These charts show the positions of all our planets going back that far." Elena examined the charts more closely. "They weren't just watching our solar system," she said. "They were specifically monitoring Earth. Look at all these notes about magnetic field changes and gravitational anomalies." Amy discovered something even more interesting in the communications center. The Keltharians had been intercepting human radio and television signals for decades. They had recordings of human music, news broadcasts, and even old movies stored in their computers. But the strangest discovery was in a locked room that Lisa had to break open. Inside, they found biological samples stored in special containers. When Frank analyzed them, he made a shocking discovery. "These are human DNA samples," he said, staring at his scanner. "But according to the dating, some of these samples are over 2,000 years old. How did the Keltharians get human genetic material from Earth that long ago?" Elena felt her stomach turn cold. "Maybe they sent secret missions to Earth to collect samples. Or maybe something else brought the samples to them." Jake found the most disturbing evidence in what appeared to be the Keltharians' government building. Deep underground in a room that looked like a war bunker, he discovered their final recordings. The videos showed Keltharian scientists and leaders in a state of panic. They were tall, thin creatures with large eyes and pale skin. In the recordings, they spoke in their own language, but the ship's computer could translate most of what they said. "The translation isn't perfect," Amy said, "but they're clearly terrified about something they discovered on Earth." One recording showed a Keltharian scientist named Zelthkar speaking to what appeared to be their ruling council. His voice was shaking as he delivered his report. "We sent a probe to the third planet for closer observation," Zelthkar said. "The probe detected massive artificial structures deep beneath the planet's surface. These structures are not human-made. They are far older than human civilization, and much more advanced than anything we have ever seen." Another council member asked, "Could the structures be ruins from an ancient human civilization?" Zelthkar's response made the exploration team from Earth feel sick. "No, honored counselor. The structures are not ruins. They are active and operational. Something is living down there. And it's been watching everything that happens on the surface. It's been watching the humans for thousands of years." The recordings continued with more disturbing revelations. The Keltharians had tried to make direct contact with whatever was hidden beneath Earth's surface. They had sent messages using advanced communication technology that could reach across interstellar distances. "We received a response," Zelthkar said in another recording. "The beings under Earth's surface are not friendly. They told us that humans are part of a long-term experiment. They said that any outside interference would result in immediate retaliation." Lisa found more recordings that showed the Keltharians' final days. The alien leaders were arguing about whether to warn other races about Earth or simply flee and never return. "If we warn others, the beings under Earth might see that as interference," one leader said. But if we say nothing, other civilizations will make the same mistake we made. In the end, the Keltharians chose to evacuate their entire civilization. The final recordings showed millions of aliens boarding enormous ships and leaving their homeworld forever. They decided to find a new home in a distant part of the galaxy, as far away from Earth as possible. But before they left, they made sure to leave warnings for any other species that might discover Earth. They carved messages into their most important buildings and sent broadcasts into space that would continue for thousands of years. The last recording was made by Selthakar just hours before the evacuation was complete. He looked directly into the camera and spoke in a voice filled with fear and sadness. To any species that finds this message, stay away from the blue planet in the system with the yellow star. The beings that live beneath that world are not evil, but they are so powerful that they see all other life as insignificant. The humans living on the surface don't know what's underneath their feet. They think they are the masters of their world, but they are really just another part of an experiment that has been running for thousands of years. Elena and her team spent 3 days exploring Kelth Prime, but they found no more information about what exactly was hidden beneath Earth. The Keltharians had been too frightened to learn more details. On the flight back to Earth, the crew of the Horizon sat in silence for most of the journey. They had confirmed that Elena's discovery was real, but they still didn't know what to do about it. "We have to warn people," Amy said. "If there's something dangerous hiding on our own planet, everyone has a right to know." Jake shook his head. "Warn them about what? We don't even know what we're dealing with. All we know is that it scared away 17 different alien civilizations." Elena stared out the window at the stars. "Maybe that's exactly what we need to find out," she said. "What could be so terrifying that it would make advanced alien races abandon their homeworlds and flee to the other side of the galaxy?" As Earth grew larger in the viewport, they all wondered if they were returning to a world that was already controlled by something far more powerful than humanity had ever imagined. The ship Horizon arrived at Earth's orbital station 3 days after leaving Kelth Prime. Jake Harrison felt nervous as he watched his home planet grow larger through the viewport. The blue and white world looked the same as always, but now he knew that something terrible might be hiding beneath its familiar surface. As soon as they docked, Jake received an urgent message from General Paul Wright. The general was the head of Earth's Global Defense Council, which was responsible for protecting the planet from any threats from space. The message was short but serious. "Captain Harrison, bring your team to Defense Command immediately. Do not discuss your mission with anyone else until we meet." Jake gathered Elena, Amy, Frank, and Lisa in the station's briefing room. He could see that they were all thinking the same thing. Their discovery was too important and too dangerous to keep secret. "Whatever happens next," Jake said, "we need to stick together. What we found on Kelth Prime could change everything for humanity." The trip to Defense Command took 2 hours by shuttle. The facility was located deep underground in the mountains of North America. Jake had been there before, but never for something this important. Armed guards checked their identification 3 times before allowing them to enter. General Wright was waiting for them in a secure conference room. He was a short, stocky man with gray hair and tired eyes. Jake could tell that the general had not been sleeping well. "Captain Harrison," the general said, "your preliminary report was very disturbing. Before we go any further, I need you to know that this conversation is classified at the highest level. Everything we discuss here is a matter of planetary security." Elena stepped forward and activated her portable computer. "General, what we found goes beyond anything we could have imagined. The evidence shows that something on Earth has been scaring away advanced alien civilizations for thousands of years. For the next hour, Elena presented all the evidence they had collected. She showed the general the alien warnings, the recordings from Kelth Prime, and the data about the mysterious structures beneath Earth's surface. General Wright listened without interrupting. His face became more serious with each piece of evidence. When Elena finished her presentation, the room was silent for several minutes. "How many people know about this?" the general finally asked. Jake answered, "Just the 5 of us and whoever you've already told. We haven't shared this information with anyone else." The general nodded. "Good. We need to keep it that way for now. He pressed a button on the table and the door opened. Several other people entered the room. "Let me introduce you to some people who have been working on similar problems," the general said. "This is Colonel Steve Adams from the Deep Earth Research Division. Dr. Karen White is our top geologist. Agent Nick Johnson works for Global Intelligence." Colonel Adams was the first to speak. He was a tall, thin man who looked like he spent most of his time underground. "We've been investigating unusual seismic activity for 20 years, he said. "Our instruments have detected massive artificial structures deep beneath the major continents." Dr. White opened her own computer and showed them maps of the Earth's interior. "These structures are enormous," she said. "Some of them are larger than entire cities. They're made of materials that don't exist anywhere else on Earth." Elena looked at the maps with growing fear. "How deep are these structures?" "The deepest ones are over 50 kilometers below the surface," Dr. White replied. "But the strangest thing is that they show signs of recent activity. Whatever built them is still down there." Agent Johnson spoke next. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes who seemed to notice everything. "My department has been tracking statistical anomalies in human development for decades. Throughout history, certain people have displayed knowledge or abilities that they shouldn't possess." Frank leaned forward. "What kind of abilities?" "Inventors who create technology decades ahead of their time," Johnson said. "Scientists who make discoveries without proper research. Artists who produce works containing symbols and patterns that don't appear in any human culture." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying that something has been influencing human development?" Johnson nodded. "The pattern is clear when you know what to look for. Many of humanity's greatest advances have come from people who claimed to receive inspiration through dreams or visions. These people often lived in areas where we now detect high underground activity." Colonel Adams added more disturbing information. "Our deep drilling projects have occasionally broken through into empty spaces that shouldn't exist. Some drilling teams have reported hearing sounds from these voids, sounds that resemble machinery or voices." Dr. White showed them photographs from deep drilling sites. "We've found materials down there that don't match Earth's natural geology. Some samples contain metals that we've never seen before. Others show signs of artificial creation." General Wright looked around the table at everyone. "Based on what Captain Harrison's team discovered, and what our people have been finding, we have to consider the possibility that Earth is not really controlled by humans." The room fell silent again. Elena could hear her own heartbeat as she tried to process what she was hearing. Everything they had learned on Kelth Prime was true. Something was hiding beneath Earth, and it had been there for thousands of years. "What do we do about it?" Jake asked. Colonel Adams pulled out another set of maps. "We've identified the largest underground complex. It's located beneath the Pacific Ocean, about 2,000 kilometers west of California. Our sensors show that it's been more active in recent months." Agent Johnson added, "Our behavioral analysis suggests that whatever is down there has been preparing for something. The frequency of unusual human inspirations has increased dramatically in the past year." Dr. White showed them seismic readings from around the world. "Underground activity has been increasing everywhere. It's as if something is waking up after a long sleep." General Wright stood up and walked to a large screen on the wall. It showed a map of the world with red dots marking locations of underground activity. There were hundreds of dots, and they were all flashing more rapidly than before. 3 months ago, this activity was minimal, the general said. Now it's happening constantly. Whatever Captain Harrison's team discovered on Kelth Prime, our presence there might have triggered something. Elena felt sick to her stomach. "You think we caused this by investigating the alien warnings?" "It's possible," the general replied. "The Keltharian said that the beings beneath Earth don't like outside interference. By confirming their warnings, we might have announced to these beings that humans are now aware of their existence." Jake stood up and looked at the flashing. "Ow. So what are our options?" Colonel Adams answered. "We have 3 choices. First, we can pretend we never learned any of this and hope that whatever is down there continues to ignore us. Second, we can try to make contact and see if we can negotiate with these beings. Third, we can prepare for the possibility that they might see us as a threat." Agent Johnson shook his head. Based on what happened to the 17 alien civilizations, I don't think ignoring the problem is a good option. Whatever is down there is powerful enough to make advanced species flee. From their homeworlds, Dr. White agreed. The geological evidence suggests that these structures have been active for thousands of years. If the beings down there wanted to harm humans, they probably would have done it already. General Wright made his decision. We're going to attempt contact. Colonel Adams, I want you to prepare a deep-sea expedition to the Pacific site. We need to know what we're dealing with before we make any other plans. Elena looked around the table at the serious faces of Earth's defenders. What if the beings down there don't want to talk? What if they see our investigation as a threat? The general met her gaze. Then we'll find out what scared away 17 alien civilizations, and we'll discover whether humans are strong enough to face whatever has been hiding beneath our feet for thousands of years. As the meeting ended, Jake realized that humanity was about to face its greatest test. They were no longer alone on their own planet, and they were about to meet their hidden neighbors for the first time. 2 weeks later, the deep-sea research ship Endeavour sailed toward coordinates that had never appeared on any public map. Admiral Tony Garcia commanded the mission from the ship's control room. He was a veteran of many dangerous ocean expeditions, but nothing had prepared him for what they were about to attempt. The Endeavour was the most advanced submarine on Earth. It could dive deeper than any other vessel and survive the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean trenches. The ship carried enough supplies for 30 days underwater and had equipment for studying anything they might find. Elena Martinez and Captain Jake Harrison joined the mission as scientific advisors. They would provide expertise about the alien, warnings, and help analyze whatever they discovered in the depths. The rest of the crew included the best deep-sea specialists from around the world. Lieutenant Commander Betty Ross was the expedition's technical expert. She had spent 15 years designing equipment for underwater exploration. Her instruments could detect artificial structures through kilometers of rock and water. Dr. Frank Peterson came along as the team's biologist. If they encountered any forms of life in the deep places, he would be responsible for studying them safely. He brought equipment for analyzing unknown organisms and protecting the crew from potential biological threats. Commander Lisa Davis led the security team. She had trained for situations that most people could never imagine. Her job was to keep everyone safe if they encountered anything hostile in the underground structures. As the Endeavour sailed across the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Garcia reviewed the mission plans with his team. They would dive to the location where Earth sensors had detected the largest underground complex. Their goal was to make peaceful contact with whatever lived down there. Remember, Garcia said to his crew, we're going into a situation that scared away 17 different alien civilizations. We need to be ready for anything, but we also need to show that humans are not a threat. The dive began on a calm morning. When the ocean surface was smooth as glass, the Endeavour descended slowly through the layers of blue water. Schools of fish swam past the viewports, and jellyfish drifted through the depths like living stars. At 2,000 meters below the surface, Betty's instruments began detecting unusual readings. "Admiral," she said, "I'm picking up electromagnetic signals from below. The patterns are artificial and very complex." Elena watched the displays with growing excitement and fear. "Those signals match some of the patterns we found in the Kiltharian records. Whatever is down there is actively communicating." As they descended deeper, the water around them became completely dark. The Endeavour's powerful lights illuminated strange shapes on the ocean floor. Massive geometric structures rose from the mud like underwater mountains. Jake stared through the main viewport in amazement. "Those structures are enormous. They must be kilometers long." Frank pointed to his biological scanners. "Admiral, I'm detecting microscopic organisms in the water around these structures. They're unlike anything in Earth's normal ecosystem." Betty studied her instruments more carefully. The organisms seem to be artificial. Their genetic patterns are too perfect to be natural. It's as if someone designed them for a specific purpose. "Admiral." Garcia ordered the ship to move closer to the largest structure. As they approached, they could see that it was made of a dark material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The surface was covered with symbols and patterns that looked both alien and strangely familiar. Those symbols, Elena said, studying the patterns through the viewport. I've seen similar designs in ancient human artwork and religious texts. How is that possible? Lisa checked her security sensors and found something disturbing. Admiral, these structures are not abandoned. I'm detecting movement inside them. Whatever built these places is still active. Betty discovered an opening in the side of the structure that seemed designed for vessels like theirs. Sir, there's a docking port that appears to be compatible with our ship. It's almost as if they were expecting us. Admiral Garcia made the decision to dock with the structure. All teams, prepare for possible contact. Remember, our mission is peaceful exploration, but stay alert for any signs of danger. The docking process was surprisingly smooth. The structure's system seemed to recognize the endeavor and guided it into a large chamber filled with breathable atmosphere. Artificial gravity activated as soon as they were inside, allowing the crew to walk normally. How is this possible? Frank asked, checking his instruments. The atmosphere in here is perfectly suited for human beings. The gravity is exactly like Earth's surface. Elena felt a chill of realization. They've been studying us for thousands of years. They know exactly what we need to survive. The crew put on protective suits and left the ship to explore the structure. The corridors were wide enough for humans to walk comfortably, and the lighting automatically adjusted to levels that were easy on human eyes. The walls were covered with detailed displays showing images from human history. They saw pictures of ancient civilizations, historical events, and technological developments spanning thousands of years. But the images also included events that had happened just days before their mission began. Look at this, Jake said, pointing to one display. This shows our ship leaving port 2 weeks ago. They've been watching us constantly. Betty discovered a room filled with communication equipment. The technology was far beyond anything humans had ever created, but the controls seemed designed for human hands. Admiral, this equipment is receiving signals from all over Earth. They're monitoring every radio transmission, every internet communication, every satellite signal. Frank found something even more disturbing in what appeared to be a biological research center. The room contained detailed genetic information about every human being on Earth. There were samples and data going back thousands of years. They have complete genetic profiles of the entire human population, Frank reported. Not just current humans, but people who lived centuries ago. How did they collect all this information? Elena discovered the most shocking evidence in a chamber filled with historical records. The files contained detailed accounts of human civilization from the very beginning. But the records showed that many of humanity's greatest achievements had been guided by subtle influences from the beings who lived in these structures. They've been helping us develop, Elena said with growing horror. Every major technological advance, every scientific breakthrough, every cultural development has been influenced by them. Lisa found security recordings that showed the beings who lived in the complex. They appeared human at first glance, but their movements were too smooth, and their eyes reflected light in unnatural ways. They seemed to know exactly where the human expedition would go and what they would find. Admiral Garcia received a communication signal from somewhere deep within the structure. The message came through in perfect English, spoken by a voice that sounded almost human but somehow wrong. Welcome, surface dwellers. We have been waiting for you to develop enough intelligence to find us. Please proceed to the central chamber, where we will explain your true purpose. The crew followed corridors that led deeper into the structure. Along the way, they passed rooms filled with technology that could control weather patterns, influence human thoughts, and monitor every living thing on Earth's surface. Betty's instruments detected massive energy sources throughout the complex. Admiral, the power levels in this place are incredible. They have enough energy to run entire continents. Elena realized with growing fear that the structure was much larger than they had thought. This isn't just one building, it's an entire underground city. There could be thousands of these beings living down here. As they approached the central chamber, Frank detected something that made his blood run cold. The biological scans show that the beings we're about to meet aren't entirely organic. They're a combination of biological and artificial components. Admiral Garcia stopped his team outside the central chamber. Through the doorway, they could see figures waiting for them in the shadows. The moment they had all been dreading was, finally, here. "Whatever happens next," Garcia said to his crew, "remember that the future of humanity might depend on how we handle this meeting. We're about to learn the truth about our planet and our species." Admiral Garcia stepped into the central chamber with his team behind him. The room was enormous, with a curved ceiling that seemed to stretch up forever. Soft blue light came from panels in the walls, casting strange shadows across the floor. 3 figures waited for them in the center of the room. They looked human at first glance, but something was wrong about them. Their skin was too pale, their movements too smooth, and their eyes reflected the blue light like mirrors. The figure in the middle stepped forward and spoke in a voice that sounded like several people talking at once. "I am first speaker Kethmore, of the Architects. We have been waiting a very long time for this meeting." Elena felt her heart pounding as she looked at the being who called himself Kethmore. He appeared to be middle-aged with silver hair and kind eyes, but there was something ancient and powerful about him that made her feel very small. "We know you have many questions," Kethmore said. "We will answer them truthfully, as your species has finally reached the level of development we have been working toward for thousands of years." Jake found his voice first. "You're the ones who scared away all those alien civilizations. What are you and what do you want with humanity?" Kethmore smiled, but the expression looked wrong on his almost human face. "We are the Architects. We have been guiding the development of intelligent species across the galaxy for millions of years. Earth is one of our most successful projects." Admiral Garcia stepped forward. "Projects? Are you saying that humans are some kind of experiment?" "Not an experiment," said the second architect. "A cultivation. We take primitive species and guide their development over thousands of years. Most species fail to reach their potential, but humans have been remarkably successful." Elena felt sick to her stomach. "You've been controlling human development? All of our achievements, our technology, our culture?" Kethmore shook his head. "Not controlling, guiding. We plant ideas in the minds of your most creative individuals. We provide inspiration for your scientists and inventors. But the actual work, the actual progress comes from human effort and intelligence." Frank looked around the chamber at the advanced technology surrounding them. "Why? What's the purpose of all this?" The third architect spoke for the first time. "The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are forces out there that destroy entire civilizations without mercy. We cultivate species like humanity to serve as guardians and explorers for the younger races." Betty checked her instruments and made a disturbing discovery. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout this complex. Something big is happening." Kethmore nodded. "Yes, the cultivation period is ending. It is time for humanity to take its place in the greater galaxy." Suddenly, the chamber's walls became transparent, showing views of locations all around Earth. Elena could see similar structures rising from the ground in major cities worldwide. The dark spires she had seen in her nightmares were becoming real. "The emergence has begun," Kethmore announced. "Our hidden cities are revealing themselves to your surface population. Humanity will now learn that they are not alone on their planet." Lisa watched the displays in horror as people around the world pointed at the rising structures. Cars stopped in the streets. Crowds gathered to stare at the massive buildings that were appearing from beneath the ground. "People are going to panic," Lisa said. "This will cause worldwide chaos." "There will be some initial confusion," the second architect admitted. "But humans are more adaptable than most species. You will adjust to the new reality quickly." Admiral Garcia demanded answers. "What happens to human civilization? Do we get to keep our freedom, or do you take control of everything?" Kethmore gestured to another display showing star charts of the local galaxy. "Humanity will join our collective as junior partners. You will maintain your current society and government, but you will also have access to technologies that will make you masters of space travel." Elena stared at the star charts. "The other alien civilizations we found, the 17 species that left warnings about Earth. What happened to them?" "They were given the same choice we are offering humanity," Kethmore explained. "Some accepted, our partnership and now explored distant regions of the galaxy for us. Others chose to maintain their independence and found new homes far from architect territory. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. And the ones that refused? What happened? To them, the third architect's expression became sad. Some species cannot accept that they are not the most advanced life forms in the universe. When they try to fight against the natural order, they usually destroy themselves through warfare or environmental collapse. Frank noticed something important. You said most of the alien species joined you or found new homes. But we found evidence that some civilizations were completely destroyed. Kethmore's face became serious. There are other forces in the galaxy besides the architects, ancient enemies that seek to consume or destroy all intelligent life. The species that rejected our protection often encountered these hostile forces and did not survive. Betty's instruments showed that the energy buildups were reaching critical levels. Admiral, whatever they're planning, it's happening very soon. Suddenly, every human being on Earth received a telepathic message at the same time. The voice spoke directly into their minds in their own languages, explaining that the architects had been their hidden guardians for thousands of years. Elena felt the alien voice in her head and struggled not to panic. Around the world, she knew that 7 billion humans were experiencing the same thing. The message was calm and reassuring, but it was also impossible to ignore or resist. Your people are learning the truth, Kethmore said. The age of human isolation is ending. You will now take your place among the galactic community. Admiral Garcia made one final attempt to understand their situation. Do we have a choice in this? Can humanity refuse your offer? Of course, Kethmore replied. Free will is the most important quality we look for in a species, but you should understand the consequences of your choice. The displays around the chamber showed images of space beyond Earth's solar system. Massive ships moved between the stars, some clearly belonging to the architects and others that looked dangerous and hostile. The galaxy is not empty, the second architect explained. Your radio signals have been detected by other civilizations. Some are friendly, but others view new species as threats to be eliminated or resources to be consumed. Lisa asked the question that everyone was thinking. What if we choose independence? What if humanity wants to develop on its own without your guidance? Kethmore looked at each member of the human team. Then we will respect your choice and withdraw from Earth. But you will face the galaxy alone, without our protection or advanced technology. Based on our experience with other species, most choose independence do not survive their first contact with hostile alien forces. Elena realized the terrible nature of their situation. This isn't really a choice at all. You're saying we can join you or face destruction from other aliens. The universe is not a kind place, the third architect said. We offer partnership and protection to species that show promise, but we cannot force anyone to accept our help. Admiral Garcia looked at his team and then back at the architects. How long do we have to decide? Your leaders are being contacted now, Kethmore answered. They have 72 hours to make a decision on behalf of your species. After that time, we will either begin full integration with human society or withdraw completely from Earth. As alarms began sounding from the Endeavor, Betty announced that they were receiving urgent communications from the surface. Admiral, we're getting emergency broadcasts from governments worldwide. Everyone is demanding to know what's happening. Elena looked out at the displays showing the architect structures rising around the world. Humanity's age of innocence was over. They now faced the same choice that had confronted 17 other civilizations before them. The future of the human race would be decided in the next 3 days, and Elena knew that whatever choice they made would change everything forever.